And I'm in a new location. So without further ado, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Truly Your VA podcast with Janis. Today, I have an amazing host. I'm sorry, an amazing guest. Of course, I'm the amazing host, right? Anyways, and I want to welcome my listeners that are listening live on the Wisdom Audio app. You may hear a lot of different noises going on because I am not where I usually am. I'm in Maryland right now and at my stepson's place, and there are 4 little dogs. So there. Without further ado, I am so excited to welcome my guests. Now, when we had our pre-podcast chat, when I looked at her profile, you know, she filled out the guest registration as all my guests do that. And I was like, oh my God, I've got to have her on like yesterday. So I am excited to welcome the amazing, spicy Deasha Waddup. Welcome to the Truly Your VA podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Wonderful. And I am obviously excited to have you on. Now, social treats. I'm thinking of, when I think of treats, of course, I think of dark chocolate and lava cake and things like that. But we're talking not social treats in the sense that we are maybe celebrating something, although with your social treats, of course, we would be. So first of all, tell me how all this got started for you in the marketing arena and then social treats.
Yeah, so I have a bit of a wild and roller coaster ride into entrepreneurship, as I think a lot of us do. It actually started off with me finishing university and getting into this job that I had thought that I wanted forever. And I was a wedding planner and events organizer, which what my degree was in, that's what I wanted to do. But when I got it, I was working all the hours and I was just living paycheck to paycheck, and I was commuting like an hour and a half each way to work. And I just thought, this is not what I thought life was meant to be. So I quit my job and booked a one-way flight to Thailand to teach English. Turns out kids are not my thing either. So that was not going to be my calling. So there I was in the middle of Thailand, in the middle of nowhere, like, okay, well, what's next? Teaching is not going to be my thing. What else is going to be it? So whilst I was in the middle of nowhere, I started teaching myself marketing, and I built websites and I built a following, and it was a travel and fitness business. Not that I had any experience in fitness at all, but I was like, I work out, so why not tell people about it? So I built this huge following, and I had a website that I built, and I started doing that. And then I met a girl and she invited me to Australia. So I jumped on a plane and was like, sure, I'll go to Australia. Why not? And I got to Australia and I started getting employed by people to do marketing. And I was like, okay, this could be a thing. Like, I could do this. And it blew my mind because I had been teaching myself. I had a background, like we touch on marketing in my degree. So, and obviously it's events, it's sales. So I had a rough background into marketing, but never really focused on the digital side of things. So through working in Australia, I stayed in Australia 3.5 years. I ended up getting sponsored in a marketing role in Australia as well. And I built up my experience. And I was working for this company in Australia, but I was back doing the same thing, you know, going to work just in a different country. Like, this wasn't what I wanted either. So I quit my job again and booked a one-way ticket to Asia again, and went to figure out life. And that's when Social Treats was born. And I was house sitting in Thailand, looking after 2 dogs, living in a beautiful place in Phuket. And I started freelancing and building Social Treats, the social media management agency, as it would become. And I was in Asia for about 8 months building Social Treats, and I panicked because I realized that I was about to hit 30 and I should like grow up and stop living in other people's houses and do all the should things that you're told you should do as an adult who's hitting 30. So I moved back to England and I got a job in a digital marketing agency. and I managed a whole team of people, and we managed huge national accounts, spending billions of pounds. And I did that for about a year and a half before I was like, okay, this is not what I wanted. And I still had some freelancing clients underneath. So after about a year, I was like, okay, let me focus back on my business and see if I can make this thing work. And I did. I built my business back up, and my business overtook my full-time income. I hired a VA before I even quit my job. And then when I quit my job, my business was already making more money than I was making full-time. So then it focused me to be able to build that up. And in 2019, so I quit my job in 2018. 2019, I started doing some coaching, and towards the end of 2019, I transitioned to coaching, and then as we are today.
Wow, we covered a lot in a short amount of time. But you know what stands out to me is that, all right, you tried something like you did, as you mentioned, you know, with the progression of getting your degree, that you started something that you thought that you wanted to do, but you recognized, nah, this isn't for me. And obviously with trying different things and being very courageous, I might add, a one-way ticket to Thailand. Like you built on each experience though, and I think that is what is very unique and what is very important, because as we go forward in the entrepreneurial world, you know, and you know, I'm thinking of what I've been through in my career wise, and then being where I am now to being self-employed. I've built upon each thing, and that really could be somebody's foundation and basis. Like if anyone is listening or viewing this podcast, I want the message to be that, you know, we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to make that choices where, you know, in the moment where we've contemplated, and I'm sure, you know, you just didn't wake up and say, okay, I'm going to go to Thailand. Like there was a thought process behind that. So, and I want to talk about that for a moment. When you, whoops, just bear with me a second here. Sorry about that, everyone. As I said, I am not in my usual place, and there's a lot of different mechanics going on here. But the bottom line is, being a live podcaster, I don't let that stop me, because this is what it's all about. So what was the thought process for you as far as, okay, when you're making a decision, like, do you have a certain process that you go through?
No, see, a lot of people have asked me this over the years, like, how do you do the things that you do? Because you just seem to wildly throw yourself into the abyss and just know that it'll be okay. And my mom always had this phrase that she said to me. She's like, I don't know how you do it, but you go and jump in the biggest pile of crap and you always come out smelling of roses. She's like, I don't know what your skill is. This just amazes me. And that is literally it. I don't overthink anything. I just go, that's what I want. I'm going to do it. And I pretty much say, is it going to kill me? Can I get out of it if it does turn around and not go well? Then I'll probably be okay.
And I think that is amazing, because on so many different levels. And thank you, by the way, for answering that so candidly and so very honestly, because I think it's important for people to also realize that, okay, you know, there's this big thing out there that you want to do, like, how can you achieve it? And I think there was, though, a method to your madness, right? And as your mom said, like, you land in a pile of shit and then you come out smelling like a rose. Like,
yeah,
there's significance in that. Wow.
I think the big thing is knowing that whatever happens, you're gonna be okay. Mm-hmm. Like, I have faith in myself. I've put myself in some scary positions, to be quite honest, when I've been traveling, and things that I've gone, probably this wasn't the best thing as a single female traveler to get myself in these situations, but I'm still here to tell the tale. So it didn't go horrifically wrong. And that's what I do. I just trust myself that whatever situation I'm going to get myself into, I will be okay. And I thrive on getting outside of my comfort zone. So when I said I quit my job and I was making enough money in my business than I was making my full-time job, what I did at that point was I knew that if it went wrong, I could get another job. I was like, if it all goes wrong and all my clients leave me, I can get another job and I will be okay. But me being me, knowing that I don't thrive within my comfort zone was like, okay, well, that's not going to work for me. So I got in my car with my dog and we drove to the south of Spain. So 20 hours drive down to South Spain where nobody spoke any English and I had to make my business work because I couldn't get a job. So I had my mortgage, I had a house that I had to pay for, I had bills in England, but I was like, I'm going to go over here for 3 months and make my business work because I have no other option but to do that. And so I took myself away from all of the distractions. There was no social life. I didn't speak any Spanish, nothing happening. It was very, very Spanish area. I just had to make my business work. And for me, that made me double my income in those 3 months because I was head down. This has got to make it work before I go back to England and reconvene with life.
OMG. There's a few other adjectives I would like to use there. So you, Deasha, you challenge yourself to think outside of the box, but thrive in such a way that would hold many people back.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. I thrive when it's uncomfortable. That is when I do my best.
And I think that is probably obviously why you have been significantly successful in such a way that it's like, okay, like I have no choice but to make this work. I need to make it work. I need to pay for my house in England. I have bills. Like, let's go for it. You didn't use any excuses. And I would think the only excuse that may have popped up was, all right, this is scary, but I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. My friends laugh at me because whenever they have an obstacle, they phone me up and I go, nothing good comes from inside your comfort zone. What are you doing? Just spend the money, do the thing, whatever you're going to do, just do it, because that's where the good stuff happens. And the good stuff doesn't happen from within inside our comfort zone, sat at home, safe in our net of safety.
And this is, and I think, a very important part of not only Social Treat, you're doing the marketing, but the coaching as well, because quite frankly, you've been there, done that.
Yeah, I have done all sorts of different things in my life, and I've done a lot of different industries along the way as well, so I can relate to a lot of people depending on where they are and what their industry is too. When I first started Social Treats, I wanted to work with people that I liked. And this came from a background in corporate. I loved working in weddings. I loved brides, and I know you get bridezillas and it can be disastrous, but I thrive on being uncomfortable, right? So I love the stress of weddings and all of that stuff on the day. So when I was building my own business, I was like, I want to continue to work with people that make me happy, that I enjoy working with. When I was working in the digital marketing agency, managing those huge budgets, I was working for a insurance organization that insured motorbikes. I don't like motorbikes or insurance. So every day was pretty boring, right? I was like, okay, I got to do something different that is interesting to me. So one of the things that the niche I picked was wellness entrepreneurs. I wanted to work with yoga instructors, life coaches, holistic practitioners, people that were changing the world, and I could help do that for them. So that was my thing. It's like, okay, I can really help these people to impact the world and change the way the world looks for the future. And that really got me excited. So I was like, okay, this is going to be my niche. And these are the people I want to work with.
Wow. And from that, obviously, Social Treats really took on a life of its own, the marketing aspect, and as I said, the coaching aspect. And I just want to pause for a moment to welcome all of our listeners on the Wisdom Audio app. This is Janis with Deasha Waddup for the Truly Your VA podcast. Now, you had mentioned that in that happiness, the challenge of building your business, I'm sure, like, you obviously knew that you were going to get to where you're going. Did you have any naysayers along the way? Because I think a lot of times maybe someone who is, maybe they're working full time right now and they're trying to build their online presence and starting to be successful at it. But if you don't have that support and you're getting all the negative energy from that, what would your advice be?
Stay focused on your vision. So I was working a lot when I was building my business on the side of my full-time job. I was working a lot. I remember going out on a Saturday night and I was sat in the taxi with a friend and I was responding to clients, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Just responding to clients." And she was like, "We're going out. It's like 7 o'clock on a Saturday night. We're about to go out drinking." I'm like, "Yeah, but we're still not drinking and I've still got some time to send some messages." And she was like, "You're insane." I was like, "Yes, but I have huge goals that I want to achieve and accomplish, and they're not going to happen if I don't put the work in." I would get up early in the morning to work before I went to work, and I'd go to the coffee shop on my lunch break to do lives and calls and stuff in between work, and then work in the evenings to make sure that everything was done. And that's why I hired before I'd even quit my job as well, because I couldn't manage the workload on my own and still deliver a really high level of service, which is what I wanted to be known for. So I knew that I was going to have to make those sacrifices in that short term to be able to get the life. I mean, in 2019, when we were allowed to travel, I traveled to 8 different countries whilst building my business, because I was like, this is what I built my business for, to not ask for any annual leave, just to be able to go when I want to go. And last night, actually, I just booked flights to go to Spain next week because I looked at the weather forecast and was like, I'm out. I don't want to be here anymore. We've had some beautiful weeks, but it's getting rainy now in England. So I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. So I just booked flights last night to go to Spain next week because I can. Why not?
And I love that, because I can. Why not? And why not, right? So what is your big vision or the next big goal for Social Treats?
I want to help more people to build communities and put heart back in front of their business. So one of the things that I've noticed in the industry is that people are so driven by what is going to make money or what they need to be doing to get to the next milestone or the next income goal. And I want to make sure that we're putting heart and community back at the center of businesses, because that is going to be what is going to drive you for the long term, rather than keep finding new clients and finding this churn all the time. If you connect with your community, I mean, I sold $11,000 the other week, and that was with 3 clients that had been in my community for over a year. Because the way that I communicate with all of my clients, whether they're brand new or been in my world for a while, is exactly the same. I want them to feel really like they can get to know me, that they can learn from me, so that when they're ready to buy from me, they can come and reach out and buy from me at a point that works for them, rather than at a point that works for me. So we have been told, and if you listen to some of the bro marketeers, all the big funnels that you need and the ads that you need and the sales pages and the squeeze pages and all the stuff that people say that you need, all I do is show up and say, hey, this is what I'm offering. Do you want to buy it? And people go, yeah, okay, I'll send you $5,000. No worries. Because that's the way of putting heart and community at the center of your circle. Means people fall in love with you and want to buy from you because they want to build a business just like you.
Wow. And I was getting so excited when you were talking about that, because a lot of times somebody that is new to the online business world, obviously very digital savvy, but with no Facebook ads or this or that, you're providing a service, you're providing that heart and that community before the transaction. So you're creating that know, like, and trust factor. And that just goes to show you that, excuse me, you don't have to spend tons of money on all sorts of ads and this and that. Now, I know that we talked about websites, because you have worked on some websites, of course. How important would you say having at least a website is, in your opinion, as the expert?
I don't think you need it. Essentially, it's good to have, and it's good to have something to direct it to in terms of automation. And when you get to that stage in your business where you want to automate this onboarding process and that sort of thing, it's really good to have that process. For me, for example, I can sign people onto my one-on-one program, and they'll go to a specific website that will go through when I have a call with them, and then they get onboarded with emails, text messages, onboarding details, sign into courses, all the rest of it is all automated. And for that, for me, is magical when you wake up and get a notification saying somebody's paid you loads of money and they're already onboarded and all you did was sleep. Like, that is the magic of having a website. The actual function of sending people there, nobody finds my website unless I have sent them there. I don't bother with SEO or Google optimization or anything like that. I am not cheap. So if they're finding me on Google, they're probably going to find somebody that's cheaper that they could work with. So I want people only going to my website that have really connected with me and fallen in love with what I offer and why they want to work with me. And then they can go to my website and see the different things that I offer and how they can work with me that way. So I don't think it's as important. What is more important is that community aspect, whether you're creating your own Facebook group or you're using other people's communities. When I first started in Social Treats, I didn't have a Facebook community at all. I leveraged other people's communities and built my whole business that way, and then built my Facebook group and my community off the back of that.
I love how you just really went through the process of how you did that, because it to me is more of an organic type of approach versus, okay, here's my Facebook group, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're already building your connections. You're already showing up and leveraging different people's Facebook groups and whatnot. What is the process? For instance, obviously it's a Monday. Like, do you have a spreadsheet, like and these are the groups that you can post in on that day? Like, how did you organize all of that?
Yeah, so I teach people a strategy where they can be in 10 groups a week, and it will take you half an hour to 45 minutes per day to be in these groups. And the idea is that we're not spreading ourselves thin and putting ourselves in hundreds of groups. We're being really focused with our efforts, and we're being a real human. So we pick 10 groups, and then on Monday we'd have 2 of those groups that we go into, and we say, we're going to engage in those groups for 15 minutes. And what I mean by engage is, I mean, be of service and be a human. So actually comment on people's posts, actually send responses that make sense, rather than you go girl. You've all seen those, right? And like, well done. You want to actually have a conversation and provide value in those groups. Do that for 15 minutes and then share your piece of content. Now, the piece of content that you share, I teach 5 different types of content. None of them are sales content, because you don't have to sell, and most of these groups won't allow you to sell in their groups. So it's about raising yourself up and being the go-to person in your industry. So I mentioned that I specifically work with wellness entrepreneurs, and there was a reason for that, because there are so many marketeers and that did social media management, and specifically social media management for groups and community managers back then, that I wanted to be really niche. And because I showed up consistently in these groups week after week, sharing value, commenting on people's posts, I became the person that people recommended for social media management for wellness entrepreneurs. I got referrals from people I had never even heard of before, never spoken to, nothing, because they had seen my post and they were like, there's this chick that keeps talking about wellness entrepreneurs and social media management. If that's what you need, you should go and talk to her because she's all over that. And so a lot of my business came from referrals from Facebook groups because I was known as the person that kept talking about social media management for wellness entrepreneurs on Facebook. They were like, she's your girl, go and speak to her because she knows what she's talking about. And that's the benefit of showing up regularly and consistently in these groups and being a person that people can come to and ask questions.
Got you. So you mentioned you have 5 different types of content. Is that something you would like to share, or is that just within your program?
No, I'm happy to share. So the 5 different types, I call it the TASTE method. So TASTE stands for teach. So one of them is teaching. Make sure you're teaching something, whatever it is that is your niche. Then the second is awareness. This is leveraging yourself, making sure that people know that you are the expert. And this can be shouting out about testimonials. It can be shouting out about your achievements, your certifications, anything like that. So awareness. Then S is sales objections. We want to make sure that we're overcoming those sales objections before people even have them. So some of the common sales objection type posts are, I don't have time, or I don't want to invest any money. And making sure that you are creating stories around those objections so people can buy into those and get over them before they've even sent you a message. So sales objections. Then the 4th one is trigger. These are content that pisses people off. And one of my favorites is about using your personal profile. I use my personal profile on Facebook for business. Some people, it really triggers. They get really annoyed about it. It's not for business, blah, 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 blah. But that's fine. They're not my people. And the people that are willing to use it are my people. So it pushes those away that are not meant for you and brings closer those that are meant for you. So triggering posts, sometimes you'll get that's when you get the trolls and the negative stuff on your post, but that's when you embrace it because it raises the algorithms. We don't care if they're commenting because it raises the algorithms, more people get to see it. And the last one is entertainment, making sure that you are being a human that has a life and has a face, because the amount of people that think they're going to make money when people can't see your eyeballs and your face is insane. And I think in this world that we live in at the moment, where there are so many scary people, quite frankly, on the internet, we want to make sure that we know who we're buying from. And that is a person behind the screen. So we want to make sure that they can relate to you. Half my clients, in fact, the majority of my clients, by the time they work with me, know my dog's name because they see him all the time on all my social media posts and I'm always talking about him, and that I go to Spain a lot and I go on holiday and they know all these different things about me because I share that with them. And obviously you choose what you want to share, but making sure that you are a human is really important to being that brand that people can trust.
And showing up in such a way that you are comfortable with and you know that you are good at. And you had mentioned your personal Facebook page. What would you say, for instance, like how many times a day do you think is a good amount to post on your personal Facebook page?
I aim for twice a day on my personal page.
That's
so
good.
Yeah, usually one business, one personal, but to be honest, my personal life isn't that interesting unless I'm on holiday. So most of the time it's just business or pictures of my dog.
Well, hey, that works.
Yeah, right. Dogs are cute. Dogs and babies get the most likes, so it's fine.
And there you go. Now, Instagram lately. Now, I know that you're on Instagram.
Yeah.
What would you say? I know, for instance, like TikTok came out and it was like, videos and dancing. Personally, that's not me. That works great for some other people. Doesn't work for me. But now we see a lot with Reels. If somebody wants to get started with Reels, what is a good recommendation that you can make to them as far as the content? Now, should they go back to your TASTE method?
Yeah, so with content on Reels, do make sure that it is specific to what you teach and what your niche is. And this is because I have experimented with this. I did a really funny reel of my dog dancing. It was hilarious, even if I do say so myself. But I got the wrong type of people following me because I'm not a dog account, right? And it went kind of viral. I got a few thousand people watching it, and it was great. And I got really excited because it was one of my first reels, but it just attracted completely the wrong crowd. So I was like, okay, the other thing I'm passionate about is coffee. So I created a reel around making coffee. And that has had over 10,000 views on this reel. It hasn't increased my following at all. So do be mindful of the type of content that you're creating, because just because it's got views doesn't necessarily mean it's going to equate to clients and new followers. So that piece of content, that me making a coffee, still getting views today and still going up, but none of those are followers. So I'm like, that's not really a good piece of content then, because it's not relating to me, my niche, or driving any of my metrics forward. So really focus on not necessarily the vanity metrics that are going to drive huge numbers to view them, which is usually the trending sounds, but focus on helping your audience, using those taste posts to elaborate on what it is that you do and how people can connect with you. That's going to be more beneficial to your target audience than using the trending sounds or any of those dances or anything else.
Gotcha. Oh my gosh, I've learned so much in this short amount of time. And I want to welcome our live listeners on the Wisdom Audio app. Thank you so much for being here and for putting up. I was, at the beginning was hit the wrong button or something. So I do apologize for that. Deasha, how can our viewers and listeners get in contact with you?
Yeah, so you can find me anywhere. I'm pretty much the only one. Deasha Waddup on Instagram and on Facebook. And I have a Facebook group all around scale from 4 to 5 figure months. And I have a challenge running this week actually on boosting your engagement in Facebook groups. So if you have a Facebook group that's not getting much engagement, then the challenge kicks off tomorrow. There's no sign up for it. All you have to do is come and join the group. And day one will be kicking off tomorrow. There'll be homework and all sorts to get stuck in so you can boost your engagement within your Facebook group. And we want to make sure that you are getting sales and getting more people into your groups.
Oh my gosh, I have thoroughly enjoyed this podcast today. Deasha, I hope you certainly will consider coming back to the Truly Your VA podcast. What an amazing start on a Monday. I always love to be open to learn different things, or maybe it was the same thing, but it was provided in such a different way. And that's what excites me. And truly, this has been just an amazing podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Wisdom, thank you again for being here. I want to also thank you for taking the time to listen to this broadcast. And wasn't Deasha amazing? Bye for now, Wisdom, and excuse me, I'll see you soon. Thank you for listening in. Hey, Facebook, and to all my viewers and listeners on my different podcast platforms and YouTube, Rumble, and BitChute. I want to thank you for taking the time to be here today to either listen or view this podcast. Deasha is the bomb. She is the social treats, and we will make sure all of her information, of course, gets in the show notes. And with that, we hope you will come back soon. Again, Deasha, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And remember, online entrepreneurship, if you're interested in it, why don't you kind of contact the social treats lady? She can get you set up, going in the right direction. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you again real soon.